All right, okay. Today is a student review class. Okay, let's start the class. At the very beginning, I want to talk about a little bit about functions. Okay, this is a part of some of the homework problems. Okay, so what does a function mean? What does a function mean? Okay, usually when you see that, okay, a function usually it's written in the following form. Okay, a function is described by formula. The functions can be described in two different ways. Okay, a table of data, or a graph, or a formula. Okay, a function. Okay, usually can be described by one of the following form. Okay, one is just a table of data. It's also called a function. Second, graph. The most common one is a formula. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about formula. So when we say a function, for example, the formula is like an f of x. Okay, so if a function is described by this formula, for example, like x times x squared minus 2x plus 5. Right? So this is called a function. Okay, and if this is a function, then you can calculate the value. For example, f of 1 means the value of the function at 1. That's 1 squared minus 2 times 1 plus 5. That is going to be 4. Okay, so this is called the value of the function f at 1. Okay. Right. So f of x is just represents is a formula for the function. The function itself, the name of the function is just called f. Now, if you have more than one function that in the same problem, you may have to use a different letters. Sometimes using F, G, H still too complicated, and you label it F1, F2, F3, F4. Okay, and so that can have a different notations, names for the function. Just you can also use the 2 letters to denote name of function. Just like your name, okay? And you can have 5 letters, okay, to name a function. Someday when you do the programming, you will see that you can use 6, 7 letters even, just represent one function, okay, to describe a function. Right? So the function can add together, can subtraction, can do. So if you have 2 functions, okay, g of x given 2 functions, you can add them together, okay. So we can define a new function we call f plus g. Now f plus g is a new function, but here this new function is named as f plus g. So you have 3 symbols here, f plus g. Okay, that's just the name of the function. It is defined by, well, that sounds easy, right? It's defined by, the function can have 3 names. So defined by, I use this notation, okay? They have to put it inside parentheses, otherwise they'll be confused. Well, if you don't write like this, it probably looks okay, yeah. So a function is defined to be f of x plus g of x, okay? So that's a definition of f plus g, sounds natural, okay? And you can do the same thing, and f minus g, and this is a brand new function, and it's given by this formula, okay? By this formula, okay? So for example, if f of x is going to be negative x squared, g of x equals x squared plus 5x, right? Find a formula. Now, sometimes we don't say that. Find the formula for the function f plus g, okay? So the name of the new function is called f plus g. And what is the formula? The formula, when we're trying to find the f plus g means we're going to find the formula. So f plus g, this formula is going to be f of x plus g of x. What is f of x? Negative x squared. What is gx? Gx, right? So after you simplify, you will get 5x. So your function now, the brand new function actually is given by this formula, just say 5x. Okay, sounds simple. You can also talk about composite of two functions. Right? Okay, the composite of two functions means what is that? Okay, so given f and g, sometimes I don't put x there, okay? And the composite f and g, okay, is defined by f circle g, okay? So that is given by the following formula. First of all, you evaluate g of x, then you put inside f, okay? Then you put inside f. All right, so let me give you an example. This is an example from the book. So if f of x, from the homework, fx minus 2, g of x is given negative 3, right? What is f g of x? Okay, so this is really means the composite of two functions. Sometimes we will ask like, what is f circle g, something like that, okay? Some little circle, okay? Composite of these two functions. So this is yeah, then you just needed to evaluate this, is because g of x is a constant, so let's put negative 3 there. Then you get 2 times negative 3 minus 1, okay? So that is going to be, yeah, that is going to be a minus plus 1, okay? Plus 1, okay? You know, the problem. So it's going to be negative 6 plus 1, which is negative 5. So that's all about, you know, I just want to know the background, okay? Now you can also similarly can define the product, okay? So if f of x equals 2x plus 1, and just an example, g of x equals x minus 1, for example, right? So question is, what is fg, okay? What is f of g? Okay, f of g is the name of the new function. It's product of two functions. So you can give it by formula, by definition, just f of x times g. That sounds simple, similar, right? So you get 2x plus 1 and x minus 1. Now you can multiply this out, so you get quite different formulas. So here 2x times x plus x minus 2x minus 1. After you simplify it, you get this. So this is your formula for the product of those two functions, okay? And now let's look at the problem. You know, some problems are even much simpler, like if you understand the concept, okay? G of x equals 15 minus 3x. And this actually we want to find out what is f negative 1 times g of negative 3. All you have to know is, and this is actually in some books will be like fg No, this is just a product, okay? So two values, and this is nothing to do with the product of functions because you evaluate two different numbers, okay? All you have to do is just evaluate each of them, and then compute it, okay? If you understand this concept, then it's easy, right? So what is f of -1? When x is placed -1, then you can put a -1 there. And what is g of -3, right? Then you just evaluate this. It's going to be -2, -4 is -6, and this is what is that? Okay, when x is -3, okay, it's 15 plus 9. That's so 24. Okay, then you multiply this out. Okay, then you multiply that out. Okay, this is going to be -144. All right, and how to get -144? Because I use this, okay, and then I get 12 squared. So that's why I remember the formula for 12 squared. Okay. Okay. The functions. Okay. Now functions can even have two variables. Okay, they can define in many different ways. Functions, such like x, functions can have two variables. Okay. Now this like x squared minus y squared. This is also a function. Functions two variables. Okay. This is a formula for a function in two variables. Is a formula for a function named f in two variables, x and y. Okay, so some quantity depends on more than one variable. That's possible, right? And in that case, it's you can have a two numbers. So you can evaluate. Okay. So here's a question, right? Here's given a function two variables, and then you can do the same thing. You can evaluate the function two variables. What is f(2,3), right? And f(2,3) means in the place of x, you can choose 2. In the place of y is 3. Then you get 4 minus 9. That's -5. Okay, good. So this is how they calculate. Okay. Now, we define a function two variables in different form. I can even write like this: define x, this symbol, to be x squared minus y squared. Okay. Then what is 2 of this? So it's actually, this is actually the formula for a function in two variables. Okay, given x, given y, get a number. Okay, but here we don't denote it by f parenthesis x comma y parenthesis. Okay, so but they should just define the function in two variables. So it's still -5. Okay, the same result. All right, so now let's look at the problem. Okay, so if x, y equals a to the x, no a here, x to the y, x to the y, and the y to the x. That's pretty stringent, right? So what is the value of 3? Okay. Okay. So in this case, well, it's do the same thing as long as I understand this notation. Okay. This is just a formula for a function in two variables. Okay, so 3 of 5, that'd be 3 to the 5, sorry, 3 to the 5, and the 5 to the 3. And then you just need to compute this. Okay, 3 to the 5 and the 5 to the 3, and how do you simplify? Okay. Okay, so how do you do that, right? Quickly do the computation. It's going to be 9 times 9 times 3, that is a 243, right? Minus 125, because 5 times 5 times 5 is going to be, right? So total is 100. Yeah. So you got 118. So this is about concept of functions. Right? Functions can have one variable, can be two variables, and usually a function, is just a correspondence, okay, between some quantities and another quantities, another set of coordinates, just correspondence. But to describe the correspondence, you need a formula, right? You need a formula. Now let me talk about the concept of graph first, okay? If f is given by a formula, okay? Then we get an equation. Okay, then we get an equation, and this is the equation of y equals f of x. Okay. All right, so from function you get equation. F of x is just formulating x. Then from function you get a graph. Then we get a graph. When we talk about graph, it must be equation. Then the graph, get a graph for this equation. Now that graph is also called the graph of the function, okay? Which is also called the graph of, simply just called f, okay? Now, for example, when we say a function is given by, sometimes we just say a given function, okay? Given function f of x equals 2x minus 1, okay? Sketch the graph of f, okay? What does that mean? That means you get a function, you're given function, then you get equation. So actually you are trying to sketch the graph for this equation. Now, this is a linear equation, right? We learned before. Yeah, this is a linear equation we learned before, okay? So how do you understand this linear equation? How do you sketch it? Okay. This linear equation, the graph, what does it mean, a graph? A graph means you have an xy axis, right? Given value of x, okay? You get the first coordinate point, but the second coordinate is determined by, is related to the first coordinate by this equation. So when x changes, the y variable changes too, but it depends on the first variable. Okay. Now we know that this is a linear function. Okay. It is a linear function. It is a linear function. So the graph, we know that the graph is a straight line. So how do you determine line? You probably just need 2 points. okay, which can be determined by 2 points only. So let's only find the 2 points sketch graph. Okay, so first point, you make a chart x and y, right? When x equals 0, y is -1, right? You just evaluate, plug 1 for x, plus 0 for x, you get the -1. But when x equals 1, and 2 times 1 minus 1 is 1, right? So which is 2 times 1 minus 1. This is a 2 times 0 minus 1, okay? So you get 2 points, but once you get 2 points, you can sketch the graph, okay? If you just want to sketch the graph of where 0, 1 is here. 0, -1, 1 and 1. Okay, so this is again distributed. Okay, this is how the 2 points uniquely determine a line. Okay, 2 points uniquely determine a line, and you can if you want to sketch a graph, you just need to find the 2 points and plot them. Okay, but for a line, we know that there is a very important concept there. When a line, there is a slope. Okay, for a line, there is a slope. Okay, and this slope, how do you define? Slope can define using any triangles, the right triangles on this line. Okay, if that change is called delta y, that changes in delta x, that is going to be delta y over delta x. Okay, and this ratio is independent the choice of the 2 points you choose on the line. So you can use those 2 points to get a slope. Okay, so those 2 points to get slope. Now the change in the y variable from -1 to 1 is going to be 2. The change in the x variable will be just 1. So for this particular problem, this is going to be the slope is 2. Okay, and actually this 2 is the coefficient of x. Okay, as you see that, right? So we can see that given an equation mx plus b, okay, then m is going to be the slope of the line. Okay. Yeah, it is a slope of the line. Okay. Now what is a b? The b is going to be the y-intercept. Now why y-intercept? Okay, we already see what's y-intercept. Because when x equals 0, y value is going to be b. So 0 and the b, if you plot them, this is a point on the y-axis, okay? And this is the line, okay? So that's why it is going to be the y-intercept. Now, why the slope is m? You see, if we look at this triangle, let's just give a special example. Okay? You will see that this side when 0 equals b, right? And how about this one? This is delta y is going to be b, right? What is delta x? Delta x is going to be 0 minus the second coordinate. What is that number? That means -b over m. So -b over m. Okay? -b over n. So after you compute b over m, but then you look at the ratio, delta y over delta x, b over m, and after you simplify just m. So the slope must be m, okay? That's the reason. Okay, so even you are given equation, you can tell immediately what is the slope, what is the y-intercept. And conversely, given slope and y-intercept, you can get the equation. Okay, so let me talk about problem number 7 from the homework. All right, so it says that what are the coordinates of A if the A has a positive integer coordinate and is the same distance while talking about distance from the origin. Okay, so question: what are the coordinates of the point A if A has positive integer coordinate the same distance from 2 and 2 as 2 and 2 is from the origin. Okay. Oh, that's tough, right? So you have to draw the picture first to solve geometry problem. And this is origin. Where's 2? Okay. 2 and 2. Okay. So look at, so first of all, what is distance? You don't need to calculate actually. You don't need to calculate. Okay. You don't need to calculate. So distance actually is going to be 2 square root 2. Okay, that's the distance. Now, you want to find, there's so many points, honestly. There's so many points with the distance, was the same distance, was the distance from, was this distance from 2 and 2. So let me draw the picture, all the points, okay? So actually, we are talking about a circle, okay? We're talking about a circle. It's not the perfect picture. I'm going to erase it, okay? And maybe I can use, yeah, I can use okay, that's much better. Anyway, so this is a circle. So all the points on this circle, we have the same distance. Is the same distance from this point 2 and 2, and the same distance. They're equal to 2 square root 2. Okay, but okay, but there are only few of the points have the integer, have a positive integer coordinates. Okay. Now this cause also, this is a one has now this is also a point, right? What is that point? 4 and 0, right? 4 and 0. Yeah, because this is a 2. Okay? And this is going to be 0 and 4. Those are the points also meet the requirement, but one of the coordinate is negative. That is 0. So in order to get positive integers, you only have this, okay? You can have this. This is actually the point, okay? And that point has 4 and 4, coordinate 4 and 4. Okay. Now, are there other points like a 3? You know, if it's a 3, then I think the y coordinate is not going to be integer. Okay, you have to prove that, right? And the 1, when x is 1, the first coordinate, see x and the y, right? You can look at that. When x equals 1, y cannot be integer. Okay, So what is the distance formula? The distance formula between A and this is a distance formula, and we're supposed to get 2 and square root 2. Okay, so that's going to be 8. Okay, no, this is a square root. Yeah. All right, so we should have this, and then our conditions x and y are positive integer. Okay, so from I want to see that as no other solutions, right? Then you square it, so x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 8. So you can see that what happens if the other possible case is x equals 1, right? 2 and 3 and 4, right? Those are the possible, you have possible integers, positive integers you can get, okay? Then do you get the y variable, okay? So let's see, y minus 2 squared equals 8 minus x minus 2 squared. So 8 minus, so let's calculate what are the possible values for y. You get integers, maybe not, okay? So when x equals 1, y minus 2 squared equals 7. No, right? Because y cannot be integer, okay? When x equals 2, okay? When x equals 2, okay, you get the 8, right? Okay, and so this is not a, y is not going to be integer. Y cannot be integer. It must be perfect square. When x equals 2, when x equals 3, y minus 2 squared equals 7 again, it's not. So only when x equals 4, you get 8 minus 2 squared, so it's 4. So that's why y minus 2 is going to be, it's going to be 2, okay? And then that implies y equals 4. So that is the only answer, you know. From the graph, you can see that this is the answer, but does not mean this is the only one. You have to show that others are not, those do not meet requirement. Okay, so anyway, so there's only one solutions. Yeah, I just briefly talk about those problems from the book, from the last homework. Okay. All right, so today I'm going to discuss a few more other problems. Okay. All right, my next problem is we're trying to solve some equations. Okay, see, I was talking about equations, right? So if a squared equals 3 and a to the 4th power equals 5b cubed, okay, where a and b are positive integers, not positive numbers. Numbers can be not necessarily integer, okay? Find the value of a squared b cubed, okay? Okay. Find the value of a squared b cubed. All right, so you are given I let you to think about. What is the best way to do? Okay. The best way to do is to, of course, you can find A and B first, right? First of all, you find the A, then you find the B, then you A square, then B cubed, then you multiply, then simplify. That takes too much time. So you will see that, okay, A square is already given, so don't worry about that. But you see that, right? A square B cubed. You will see that A square is already given, okay? So you don't worry about that. A squared is 3. Now B cubed. Okay, B cubed is already given over there, right? So it's going to be 5 of A to the 4th power. But A to the 4th power is A squared and the square. So that's why you get A squared is 3 already. Okay, so you can quickly get the answer. Well, so this is the idea, you don't need to find the value of A and B. Then you try to modify and get the answer, okay? And bypass finding the value of each individual variable directly. Sometimes you don't need it, okay? A similar problems we have here is like that A times B equals 5, B times C equals 7, C times A equals 2, right? Find the A times B times C, okay? Now, in this problem, you have to ask yourself, is A and B and C are positive? Then you find out, that could be all negative, that could be all positive, okay? So there are two cases here. So first of all, you should note that A and B, C are all positive or all negative. Because when they're all negative, the product is always positive, right? You don't see the negative sign, okay? So that you have to pay attention to that. Then to solve this problem, you just needed to do A times B, B times C, C times A, okay? Which is going to be 5 times 7 times 2, it's 70. The left-hand side becomes A and B and C square. So you see, you don't need to find A, B, C, right? A and B, C is going to be plus minus square of 70. Okay. Yeah, it is plus minus 70. Can be negative. Okay, if all of them are negative, then the product of three numbers will be negative. So be careful. Yeah, unless I already tell you they are positive numbers. Okay, now, yeah, can you find all those solutions or not? Yeah, can you find A and B and C? If you really want to do that. Well, that's making it actually become easier. So first of all, you assume they're positive. Assume that A and B and C are all positive. Then A and B, A, you see, you find the product of three numbers first. That helps you to solve the problem. So A is going to be A and B and C divided by BC. See, that's a trick, right? So it's going to be square root of 70 divided by B and C. What is B and C? 7. Okay? And the B is going to be A and B and C divided by AC. Square root of 70 divided by 2. AC is 2, right? Yeah, then that last one is 5. C, I need AB. So square root of 70 and 5. So we got three numbers. Okay? Now, if they're all negative, then just put a negative sign there. If A and BC are all negative, then A is going to be negative 70 over 7. B is negative square root of 70 over 2. C is going to be, okay. So this example tells you, yes, we still can solve for A and BC if we want, but the still best way to do is to find A times B times C first. Right? So when you're given the equations, you look at the first to see if there's any better way to solve quicker. Right? Don't just try to find the number or find the variable first, then do the computation. Okay? For example, x plus 1 over x equals 4. Right? And x is a positive. Can x be negative? Maybe. Right? I just assume positive. Find the value of this. Okay, please go ahead and do it. All right, are you done? We got 14 lessons. All right, okay, so what is the best way to do? Well, you say, if I find the x, then I can solve the problem. Yeah, you can do that, right? But in this case, you probably don't need it. Okay? Because when you square it, okay, the right hand side is 4 squared, which is 16, no problem. The right hand side will be x squared plus twice of this plus this. But this number, this is going to be a number, which is just 2. Okay? Therefore, x squared plus 1 of x squared equals 14. See? And this is a 14. That's it. Now, if you want to find out, if I want to solve this for x, then this is it can be done, right? I want to find the value for positive x, right? I can do it, okay? What I'm going to do, yeah, so how to solve this equation? We multiply both sides by x. And then we get x squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. You get a quadratic equation. The quadratic equation, then you solve for x. It's 2, negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac. So after simplifying, and that is going to be square root of 12, right? Square root of 12 is going to be 2 square root of 3. That will be 2 plus minus square root of 3. So you got two solutions. They're not too bad. Okay. So which one is positive? Both are positive. Huh? Both are positive. Okay. So you have two solutions, positive solutions. Now, if you really want to, maybe you get different answers, right? But you can verify that 2 plus if x equals 2 plus square root of 3, okay, and plus now how much time you have to take to figure out this? It's not a trivial, okay, and you end up with still 14, but it's complicated, okay. So how do you do that? You multiply this out. You get 4 plus 4 square root of 3 and plus 3. That's the first one, right? The second, you will get 4 plus 4 square root of 3 plus 3. So now you get 7 plus 4 square root of 3. And you have a denominator. But still does not look like 14. Right? It's complicated. It's easy to make mistakes if you go that way. But it's good exercise to simplify this expression. That's what I want to do to here. And okay, and then how do you do this? You rationalize the denominator. I put 7 minus 4 square root of 3. 7 minus 4 square root of 3. When you multiply the numerator and denominator by the same factor, but it changes the sign. So what I get is here is 7 squared minus 4 square root of 3 squared. Let's see what do we get. Okay. 7 squared is 49. 4 squared times 3 is 16 times 3. 48. Wow, that's just 1. So the denominator is just 1. It's surprised. And then 4 square root of 3 cancel out, it's going to be 14. Wow. See. Okay. So that's how do we. Yeah, we get these numbers. Okay. We can solve for x if we want, but so much time you take, to figure out. But it's a good exercise to simplify this kind of expression. That's why I do it here. Okay. There are yeah. Let me talk about this equation again. X squared minus 4x plus 1 equals 0. Now, let me talk about this. What does that mean? Okay, someday maybe we have to look at quadratic function. This is so this expression can use to define a quadratic function. Okay, we can yeah. So if f is given by f of x equals x squared plus 4x plus 1, then it is called a quadratic function. Okay, so we're going to study more in the future. Okay, but anyway, quadratic function, then we can talk about, usually we get 2 zeros. you can solve, solve equation. So all we needed to know is quadratic formula right now, okay? And the go beyond that will be the advanced topics, okay? So we're going to study next, it's upcoming summer, okay? So all we needed to know is what we should know at this point. We needed to know how to find the zeros equation. Sometimes you can factor it, sometimes you have to use a quadratic formula, okay? The so-called quadratic formula is a squared plus b squared plus c, and then a is not equal to 0, then x is what I'm using here. I'm trying to find the x, right? It's going to be 2a negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac, okay? So this is called the quadratic formula. So that gives you 2 zeros. Involves radicals, right? But I think I need go back to the linear equation again. This is a topic we studied that before, linear equations. Right? We did that before. It's called coordinate geometry, remember, right? So let me ask you to look at this problem. Where's my question? Let's get. Yeah, here's a question. So we go back to linear equation. So we are given the picture here. Okay. So this is a point 3 and 0. This line passing through these 2 points. Question 1. Okay. What is the slope of this line? Question 2. Find an equation for the line. For the line is actually means find the equation for the relationship between the 2 coordinates of the point on the line. Okay. Find the equation for the line means find the relationship between x and y for the coordinates on the line. Okay. Yeah, please, if you still remember something about the linear equations, graphs, then please work out this part. All right. Now, wow. Okay, someone still got answers. Great, good job. Okay. So first of all, you have to figure out slope, right? By definition, the slope, now a little bit more general formula here, the slope is going to be, in this case, will be negative, okay? So you can call this one be x1, y1, that will be x2, y2, okay? So the slope is the difference of the 2 coordinates, corresponding coordinates, okay? That actually gives you the so-called delta y and the delta x, the changing the y variable and the changing the x variable of the 2 points. Okay. So y2 is 2, y1 is 0, x2 is 0, and x1 is 3. So the order is very important. It's going to be 2 or 3. It's a negative number. Okay. Now, how do you get the equation? How do you get the relation between x and y? So this is an arbitrary point. You can also calculate the slope in a different way. You can say, I'm going to use x and y as a second point. Then what you get is a y minus 0 x minus 3 should be the slope. Okay, so therefore you have the identity. Yeah, why you say y minus x minus, because look at this point. This is you consider those 2 points. Using those 2 points, the calculate corresponding change in y variable and x variable, the difference. Okay, then y minus 0 and x minus 3. Okay, then those 2 should have the same, give the same slope. Then you get this identity, and that is called the equation. Okay, that is called the equation. Right. So after that's the equation. This is a good equation. Now you can multiply this out, and then you get 2 here. Okay. So that is a standard form actually for an equation. There are many ways to describe an equation. Okay. That's just one way. You see, this is a slope, right? This is a y-intercept. Okay, this is a y-intercept. Now you can multiply both sides by 3, and you get the 3y equals negative 2x and plus 6. Then you can move 2x to the right-hand side, and that is another version of the equation. So there are many versions of the equation here. It's a linear equation. Right? But remember, if you want to get the slope, if you don't want to sketch the graph, and you have to start stating the form y equals x plus b. Okay, if you can express in this form, it's called the slope. This is a general form. Okay, this is called slope intercept form. Okay, so you have to have a slope intercept form, then you can get slope. Okay, for example, given 2x minus 5y equals 3. Okay, find the slope of the line. Hence, the graph is a line, so slope of line. Do you need to sketch the graph? Find the 2 points? You don't need it. You know, the slope, of course, it's defined by that's the original definition, but you don't need to use that. Otherwise, you have to find 2 points and do the calculation. All you have to do is to express it in the slope intercept form. Okay. So what you do is you can move. You can move 5y to the left, to the right. Okay. Then you can exchange the order. Okay. Then you divide both sides by 5. Okay, so what you get is here, this is a slope point form, and that is a slope. The slope is going to be 2/5. Okay. Yeah, that's how do we get the slope. So you don't need to sketch the graph. Even the original definition of slope, you need the points on the graph, and you need to calculate the difference. But it's not necessary. If you have to do that, you have to find the 2 points. If you use this formula, right? You have to say, okay, when I'm going to get the y value, I can let x to be 0, x1 to be 0. Y value is going to be 3, -5, right? That's the first point. Then I let x to be 1 if I want. If x is 1, y2, x2, right? y2 is 3 minus 2 is 1. It's -1/5. You see, you got 2 strange points on the graph. Then the slope is the difference of the y variable, y2 minus y1, and the x2 minus x1. Now let's calculate that. So the answer still will be 2/5. It's the same answer. Okay. But you know, there should be an easy way to figure out the slope. So when you're given a general form of equation, the quickest way to find the slope is just express in the slope point form. Then read it, from the coefficients, you can get the slope of the line. Okay. So